This is just these are a couple of examples. You posted these on your website. Just so people know, we went back and we checked them all to see, are they true? Did it really happen? And you got it. They are true. They did happen. These are instances of assault or rape or exposure by trans individuals against girls, sometimes little girls, in restrooms, in jails, women, and so on. Again, doesn't mean they all do it. Just means you should be able to talk about the potential risk. That's it. That's all you were trying to do. There's a couple of examples. Transgender prisoner Karen White carried out 4 sex attacks at a women's prison, confirmed by the BBC. Madeline Harks convicted of molesting 3 girls under 8 before he transitioned, and then sexually assaulted 2 female inmates in jail. Vancouver Sun, confirmed by additional CNBC reporting, or CBC. 2012, Canadian Christopher Hambrook assaulted 2 women in 2 women's homeless shelters in Toronto, confirmed by The Economist. 2020, female Illinois inmate claims she was raped by a transgender inmate, and the jail covered it up, confirmed by the local PBS Chicago story, and on it goes. There is no question it has happened. There's no question women in California have expressed concerns that it may happen again there as a result of this guy Weiner's policy, which got pushed through. And the fact that YouTube is looking at you because you made it into a parody with Alex Jones to cover this issue in a way that you always do. You're a comedian. You make people laugh, cry, feel something, and get a conversation going is insane. Your thoughts, Stephen, especially when we see what's happening with Dave Chappelle trying to talk about trans issues on the national level too.
Oh, well, for crying out loud, with Dave Chappelle, they just absolutely proved his point. I think, when some people say, it's not cancel culture, it's accountability culture, that's total bullcrap. Because if you look at Dave Chappelle, you see the difference between the critic scores and the audience scores. For example, between Fauci, the critic scores, and the audience scores. Mm-hmm. What cancel culture is a small group of people in an echo chamber, using that echo chamber to amplify it and to subvert the voice of the actual people. People want to be able to watch Dave Chappelle. That's a majority of Americans either want to be able to watch the special or believe that other people should be able to watch the special. It's a bunch of people who want to stage a walkout who work at Netflix who believe that him making jokes is actually something that one could equate to violence. So let's be clear. Cancel culture is a real thing, and it's not even the same as a boycott or a boycott, because it's not society at large. It's people who are entirely disconnected from society at large. And I appreciate you, by the way, going through those references, because yeah, look, I'm a comedian first. I mean, anyone who's watching this right now, seeing you and I in a split screen can tell, right? If this were just a free screen, like comedian, yeah, because one is Megyn Kelly, like looking into the sun, and one, after several hours of work, still looks like I just came in from an all-male version of Curves, okay? So I have to actually be somewhat, not that you're not entertaining, but this is what I've done. I was performing to drunks, in clubs for years. I worked at Fox News. Everything that I do today, I was told would never work. Yeah. I was told, we know that the brass there at Fox News, they said, comedy like that doesn't really work. It's too edgy. The idea of change my mind, which is no edits, as long as it takes. That's hours amazing. To actually discuss these issues. You know, Megyn, come on. In the realm of cable news, that's antithetical. The Sanjay Gupta just said, I spoke with Joe Rogan for 3 hours, which was the longest conversation I think I've ever had with anybody. If that's the longest conversation you've ever had with anybody, you've lived an asshole's life. It means that you have no idea how to interact with people on a human level. Part of that is comedy. Part of that is levity. Part of that is actually finding a way to make a point without drawing blood, and that's what humor does. And I think a big part of it is YouTube is just going after the numbers. They're saying more of you have chosen to watch this, and Colbert, Myers, even any news program in the demographic, so we can't allow that to happen. But what's really concerning...
You have way more.
Yeah, and and I'm not comfortable talking about that because I have people come up and when I was getting through, insert whatever it is, like, you helped me get through cancer. And I'm like, I would probably just let the cancer win if I were you. So good, thank you. I'm appreciative, I guess. You're braver than me. Me telling a few jokes and selling mugs got you through the toughest point in your life. I'm intensely uncomfortable with the responsibility, and so I try and do as much good as possible.
No, I've seen that, though. You take it seriously. I've seen the research that you do behind your segments, and often, like, if I'm going to have you on, I'll look at it, I'll see the controversial stuff, and I'll say, all right, let's take an objective look. And if I didn't think you had it, I'd call you out. But you got your stuff here, and they're sticking their head in the sand.
Megyn, go through all of them. We did. I challenge you. Go through everyone we've ever done. I have a policy here, okay? We actually have to use completely neutral sources, things like PubMed or scientific journals, or if we can't find it, we use a left-leaning source. As a matter of fact, when we used the Daily Wire for this story, it was the first time we used a right-leaning source in weeks, and that's because they did the exclusive investigative journalism. Now, it doesn't mean that something wouldn't be legitimate, for example, if it came from Fox News
on the
or if it came from the Washington
on the Loudoun
Examiner.
County story. And the Daily Wire's reporting on the Loudoun County issue has been 100% confirmed, 100% confirmed, including by the superintendent. And the board, one of the board members just resigned today. She was on the wrong side of history, and she resigned so that she could be replaced by her fellow board instead of by the people who deserve to elect the next person in her seat. This Loudoun County board has not served its constituency well. But but I want to just take a jump back because YouTube also cracked down on you. This is one of the things I saw. You remember Micaiah Bryant was the young woman who was killed. She was a black woman who was about to stab another black woman, and a police officer showed up on the scene and he shot her. And she died. She was only 16 years old. It was tough to tell how old they were in the midst of this knife fight, but it was crazy because the left started to defend her and attack the cop as though knife fighting is just a playful way of expressing oneself, and the cop should have known that. Okay, so you had some fun at this. You didn't, you mocked it a bit and sort of said this is ridiculous, and a lot of people did, the media outrage and so on. But then as I'm studying up on this, they had no problem. They say you can't, because you got to strike, and you're not allowed to mock somebody's death. They said you're not allowed to mock it. And I think it was you or somebody close to you said, if that were true, the Bill Maher riff on David Koch dying, he celebrated David Koch's death as if it was, the greatest thing to ever happen to the country, that still lives on YouTube. That's just fine. But you can't mock this.
No, and I absolutely should be able to mock it because this is someone who actually tried to actively stab somebody else. Look, if you look at that freeze frame, it's a freeze frame like this. And I think what I said was something along the lines of, some people call this a travesty of the justice system. Some people talk about this as though it displays the social inequities for all to see. And when I look at this freeze frame of a serially violent young lady about to stab another 16-year-old, I say, Tex, that's some mighty fine shooting. Because I can't believe the split-second shot that had taken place. Of course, no one wants anyone to die. But you know what? When someone's about to stab somebody, I prefer the stabber to die than the innocent stabbee. Again, I'm old-fashioned.
The cop saved her life.
Yeah. This was after, too. This was, of course, when it was heated, where all cops were animals. And I've agreed that you have some cops who abuse their authority. Absolutely. I understand it. However, this was a scenario where the cop made the absolutely right call. And it's entirely subjective with YouTube. That's the issue that we're dealing with.